Welcome to this session titled Data and Digital Resources for Decision Making on Forest, Trees, and Agroforestry. Of course, this is Peter Minang from the World Agroforestry Center. I lead the landscapes flagship within the Forest, Trees, and Agroforestry research program. And I'm here this afternoon to sort of steer things through with a brilliant set of presenters. So this session is to really present to you a set of tools and instruments that we've developed that can help you to work on trees, forests, and agroforestry in the context of climate change, in the context of sustainable development. So we would want to present to you, because that's now been put in a brand new, revamped website for the research program. And we've got some brilliant people to talk to you about that today. But first, let me give the chance to Vincent Gitz, who's the director of the research program, Forest, Trees, and Agroforestry, in short, FTA, to present to you and introduce to you this program. Vincent, welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Peter, and good afternoon to all. So yes, again, also welcome to this LAUNCHPAD on data and digital resources for decision-making in forest, trees, and agroforestry. So basically, FTA, since 2011, you have a set of brochures. So now, since 8 years from now, FTA has become the largest research for development program in the area of forest, trees, and agroforestry, with 7 research institutions as strategic partners, C4, eCraft, Biodiversity International, CIRAD, present in the room, I think, Cartier, Tropenbos International, and INBAR with the Bamboo and Rattan organization. It's about 250 scientists working together and a budget of 70 million sum of projects a year. So for such a big program in research for development, the question is that the research we do is not only for scientists, it's obviously for decision makers at all levels, government level, but also subnational level, local level, and also private sector, civil society, the extension officers in farms and foresters. So when we are confronted to the kind of challenges that the sector and landscapes are faced with, immediately there is the question on how we do manage decision making, and how decision making needs to be grounded on sound evidence, science, which comes immediately with the question of reliability of information and of trusted sources. And this is in that spirit that we have looked at the way we were presenting the results of the research through a range of tools, and including on in our website. And making the evidence available is to our next user is part of what we call the theory of change, as an essential element, as the core, the very heart of our mission as scientists. And this is why we are also supported by a very talented team of support persons in communication and outreach. And today we want to launch our new website to make available our resources and also showing the way we work, our science publication, but also news items, publication, and data that my colleagues will be showing to you today. You will see there is a considerable amount of information. Since 2011, more than 5,000 publications are registered, are available on the website, and 70% of those are open access. But there's also a range of other things like PowerPoint, like databases, news items, etc. And we wanted this tool to be usable not just for one category of users, but for several categories of users, a very diverse audience. And this is also what we're going to present our new way of searching information on our website. And we're going to show that to you today. Then just you have here a screen with how it looks. There is a range of resources. You can look at what is FTA. I won't go into details. It is also available in the brochure you have here today with you. Importantly, the program is divided across 5, we call that flagships, main research themes, because FTA covers a whole range of disciplinary domains, work domains in the area of forestry and agroforestry, from the genetic resources, which is one flagship, to smallholder livelihoods and the development of improved livelihood strategies, including trees, agroforestry, and plantations. A third big component of the program is about sustainable value chains and investments. A fourth one on sustainable landscape and landscape governance, and the fifth one on climate change, both mitigation and adaptation. And these 5 flagships are supported also by cross-cutting work on gender, on monitoring, impact evaluation, and learning, because one of the key functions of the program is to go beyond the sets of projects and integrating a learning component, a learning loop to be able to move on research to the next level from projects to projects. An important thing, and we're going to look at that today, is that we have reorganized the program around a set of what we call operational priorities, because one of the things that often science is perhaps accused to do, or scientists, is to look at only the supply, look at what we're good at, while we, in fact, our first role is to be providing solutions to stakeholders, and therefore looking at the demand from development actors, at the demand from countries, at the demand from stakeholders. So here we have clustered our work across different teams, the 5 flagships, to a set of here 22 research priorities that represent key development challenges towards the SDGs, or the operationalization of the solutions to reach the goals, and at the same time are areas where there is more knowledge that is needed. So it's both a development objective, but also a knowledge gap to fill in these areas where we need more science and evidence, and where we have a role to play with our partners. 22 may seem a big number for you, but when you look at the overall size of the program, 70 million, it makes that this is a bit, on average, a cluster of 3 million of research per year in each area of work. So that makes it sizable, but yet at the same time manageable amount to produce impact. And just to give you the example of 2 big areas that are also relevant to what the Global Landscapes Forum is tackling, is about restoration. And here restoration is really cross-cutting with all the partners of FTA, all the scientific partners, looking at the range of tools, what trees to plant where, at the cost-benefit areas of forest and landscape restoration, and also at the policy and governance aspects. Another example, if you scroll down here on the website, you can look at the high-level problem statement of these priority areas one by one. Another very big one relevant to also what we discuss here is how do we deal with the large-scale development of tree and other tree-based commodities and plantations like palm oil, timber, pulp, rubber, etc. Another aspect, and Peter Minang here is leading that one, is about landscape, and that's the number 9 here, landscape governance, which relates to how, in fact, there can be solutions to be implemented at different level, from the local level to the national and even international level, in terms of, across boundaries, to manage cross-sectorial issues related to agriculture, forest, land use, and the quality of the governance, meaning the good principle of participation, inclusiveness, transparency, etc. And how that applies to a set of approaches from REDD+ to ecosystem-based adaptation, etc. So that's just to give you an example on how we present the information at a very high level. And throughout the website, there is the possibility to use this structure, meaning we have remapped all the publications since the inception of the program to these 22 clusters. Yeah, that's for the introduction, and now I'll leave it to our amphitryon, Peter. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Vincent. Thanks. Did you actually say 500,000 publications or 5,000? 5,000. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Okay. No, I mean 200 data sets, you know, that can be accessed. I think it's something big. A couple of hundreds of maps that would be available. So I think we are up to something actually very, very interesting. I'm sure the scientists in the room are sort of eager to get onto those data sets. But before we get there, I'd like to call on Vincent mentioned that we are really trying to make sure that this website looks at users in a very specific way. So we'll try and get you, we've got some people here sitting and trying to represent the different users, and they'll try and show you from a practitioner extension officer's perspective what you can see actually, and then someone else will be looking, pretending to be in the minister or the minister's advisor, looking for more information, and they'll show you exactly what that might mean. And then we will have someone looking at it from a scientist's perspective. How can you get in? What can you see? What can you find? And then we'll have someone talking to you about what we are actually putting onto it. What is the quality? What do we consider in that process? So these 4 people, I'll call them up one after the other. The first would be Monica, who's the program manager for FTA, and she's kindly trying to look at it from an extension officer's perspective. And she's always very diligent, so I trust she'll take you through it in a fantastic way. Monica, please.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Does it work? Hello? No, it doesn't work. Hello? No? Yeah, I think it works now. Yeah. So, hello, everyone. I will try to show you how this new tool that we designed for you, the FTA website, may be useful in the work of the extension officer that constantly needs to update himself on the newest research developments, innovations, technologies, then to transfer to farmers. So, no need to go to Google to do the search. And on Google, well, actually you don't know whether the information there is reliable. Maybe less of the concerns for the publications that are peer-reviewed, but other materials like videos, well, you are not really sure. So the good news is that everything that you find on the FTA website is sound science. Important, isn't it? Right, so let's do some search. This GLF is on rights. So we will search for gender and rights. Gender is a very strong point in our FTA program. We are very proud of it. So let's imagine that the extension officer is in Nicaragua and is designing a course on how to incorporate gender considerations into farming practices to then advise the farmers. So what to start with? Well, maybe videos, as I mentioned before. Let's go to Videos tab. Okay, video. This one? Hello, yeah. So we go to videos. I will, in the search tool, I will just put gender as a keyword. Let's search. Wow, fantastic. We have 21 videos on gender. Good, isn't it? Right, let's go to publications and search for the publications. I may search by operational priority. As Vincent said, we have 22 operational priorities. I just choose the one for gender. I tick the box. Search. And we have 238 publications relevant for gender. Excellent. Let's say I want to narrow this a bit and maybe look for Nicaragua. You may search by region, you may search by country. I will put Nicaragua. Search. Well, we have 12 results for Nicaragua. Very good. We'll be also searching for rights. What happens if I put rights in the keyword? Gender priority is already chosen here. Okay, I put rights. I click on search, and I have 31 results on gender and rights. Excellent. You may also decide how you want to display your results, how many of them, whether you want to see them by the cover pages, maybe you want to see the authors. The newest are always on the top. The materials are from the beginning of our program, from 2011. You may also search by year. Okay, good. So I'm so motivated by my search. It's going so well to search for the materials here. I may also see if there are any relevant tools on gender. So I write tool in the keyword search. I have 6 relevant tools. Great. Well, I'm very satisfied with my search here as the extension officer. So I may also think of checking what is, for instance, on the gender page. There's gender and youth page on the FTA website. Well, we have the video, Gender Equality and Social Inclusion, Forest and Agroforestry. We have a gender brochure that we can download. We have latest news. So we can go to news. We have explore our resources. Let's see what goes there. Wow, we have lots of the resources here as well. And in the overview, we have also additional tools. So I think I found lots of useful materials to design my course, don't you think? Thank you. Over to you, Peter.
Thanks a lot, Monica. I'm sure that the extension people in the room are looking forward. So let's move on to a second and very important person, very important user. That's the government official. So Amy Duchel is a senior scientist on climate change, energy, and low emissions development working at C4. And she's going to be trying to get into this as a minister.
Okay.
From wherever? I don't know. You determine where that is.
Maybe I'll be the governor of California, actually. Is that okay? Okay. So yeah, I'll be the government of California because California is developing an interesting standard to try to support subnational jurisdictions in low emissions development. So I want to know who we should be investing in. So I have to get out of here. I'm going to go back to the publications page because, you know, climate action really does need to be based on sound science. And so I'm confident that the FTA website has the best science. So I'm going to go to publications. Let me just go to click. And I want to focus specifically on climate change. Yeah, so that's 1,279. So that's a lot of publications. Okay, let me see if I can try to. I wonder if it's just the FTA on flagship 5. It's the same, I guess. So these are the flagship programs of the FTA program. Let me just see if that. Okay, that actually narrowed it down to 507 that were specifically produced by the program. Let me go down to more recent references. So year, maybe in the last 3 years, so I could do 17. Search. Is that, yeah, that's still, okay, Did I get that? Wait, let me try the last. It's hard to use a computer that's not yours. Wait, let me just try last year. 2017, 8. Okay, so we're getting there. That's down to 128. I'll specifically focus on subnational level because that's what I want to support as the government of California. Let's see. Oops. Okay, so I got to, 11 now, and this one looks interesting. Maybe it's, can I actually open it? Yeah. Okay, subnational jurisdictional approaches, policy innovation, partnerships for change. It looks like a good author group. I'm going to check this one out. Thanks.
Thank you, but I didn't hear you give any money to anyone.
Not yet.
Okay, all right, thank you. So we're getting to listen to the people that do all the work in the background. They check these things, they look at how to put these things on. And Michael looks after our communications for us. He's a specialist in that. And he's going to talk to us about what are the considerations on the quality and open access and what we put on. Please.
So the real benefit of the website is the access to quality data. And FTA is very committed to producing quality data that is open access and open data. It improves the speed, efficiency, and efficacy of research, allows for interdisciplinary research, benefits global public with information, and responds to donor policies and expectations. So the data presented on the FTA website has been assessed against a quality of science framework with 4 criteria, which is relevance, credibility, legitimacy, and effectiveness. So one by one, relevance. The data answers a well-defined research question, contributes to new knowledge relevant to the FDA mission. Credibility, it is supported by a well-defined research question and a rigorous research design. It is complete, curated, and cleaned. It is available and accessible, and is described by sufficient metadata. Legitimacy. Data has been collected following free, prior informed consent. It incorporates a gender lens, and that is reflected in the data. And it conforms to the research ethics of FTA. And finally, effectiveness. The data is seen to have additional analytical and publication potential, so it could be enriched by merging with other data sets or new point data, duplicating the data either spatially or temporally. So the data is consistent with the 5-star open data scheme of the European Union and open data portal, and particularly as that relates to reusability for data owners and reusers. So we take the publishing of data very seriously, and we work to ensure that it is of the highest possible quality to inform the decision-making of our constituents worldwide. So that is just a brief overview of how we're approaching publishing data on the website. We aim to make it very reliable for you and everyone else. So now I will turn to Peter to take it to the next step.
Thank you. Thanks a lot, Daniel. Thanks. A big hand, yeah. Thanks. Now, you know, all these extensionists, all these government people, comms people are really boring, you know. The really interesting people, the cool guys are the scientists. They're really cool, very interesting people. So we're going to hear from Professor Daniel Moody, who's going to sit in as a scientist and tell us how he's going to get through this cool stuff. Have a look.
Thank you, Peter. I'm a scientist, and I think the work that I'm doing is related to wetland, peatland, and mangrove for blue carbon and high carbon reservoir. And under the FTA, it's priority number 7. So if you click there, it's all sort of things related to mangrove for blue carbon and peatland. Let's start with the work that we've been doing, and that's the way we try to promote and at the same time also attract participation of visitors, because the system is so interactive. So in addition to the issue of open access and those issue of European data portal requirement, we are also obliged to share the raw data as well. So in addition to publication, raw data is also very important, and that's the reusability of the work. So it's not only publish data with your supplementary information and the paper itself, but also you can dig into the raw data and even the unpublished one. So the only requirement that we expect people to be honest with the rest of the community is they have to sign up, and we know who they are so that they don't mess things up. And also importantly is what the data are going to be used for. So that's the data portal that we can dig up here. I'm not sure if you can get the data portal. Can you help? Because it's been messed up somewhere. Anyway, so this data portal is so important that people can access the raw data, as I said earlier. So the portal from the project that we've been running through in the past 10 years is a so-called SWAM, the Sustainable Wetland Adaptation and Mitigation Project. In addition to other projects, this huge project covering more than 25 countries. It's been accumulating more than 83 data sets with more than 50 review-published paper. So with that data set, we try to meet the requirement of this EU open data portal with regard to reusability. So let's try to visit the data file here. Right, so at the bottom here, you can see the publication recently published in April 2019, but you can see you can view the data that is there. This is just an example, and this is the author. And if you want to see this particular global data set of this paper, you can click there and see that there are some requirements for you to look at the raw data. Takes time. There you go. So if you want to download this, just go here. From this publication, you can see the unpublished data at the same time. And you can see the original file of the data. As I said, you have to register here so that you can sign up. So the real data can be shown to you based on the 5 different compartments of carbon, which is the requirement of the IPCC. One is in the trees, in the root, in the soil, and the biomass as a whole. so that you can see the individual data set of that particular global data sets. So with that, you can download that, and we keep track on that just to make sure that we know who is using this. So without going to the detail, you will see the Excel file as people normally use it. And additional information that is useful here for those who are working on the meta-analysis or systematic review, you can import all the published paper and then get the statistic of all those data. As usual, the meta-analysis requires that. So it's automatically following the system that is usually used in the meta-analysis. So all this data are kept in a huge platform called Dataverse, and in addition to many other data. So this system is very user-friendly so that we can accommodate the information available there for our own research. Thank you.
Isn't that cool? Yeah? Cool stuff. Okay. But, you know, as a scientist, I had to support him that we are coolest, you know. Whether that is true is something else, I guess. The people in the field, the extensionists, have actually cooler life than we do. So that's quite. So I'll call on Monica to show us some cool stuff just a bit before we get on to any interactions that we might have. Yeah?
Yeah, thanks. Yes, I'm going to show you some nice stuff that you may find on the website. I will show you the video on gender equality and social inclusion in forestry and agroforestry, the one that I was actually searching for my course.
Around the world, forests and trees provide a source of income and livelihoods for over 1 billion people. Both women and men depend on forests, agroforestry, and trees for their livelihoods and play a critical role in managing them. However, there are big inequalities in roles, rights, and responsibilities among women and men.
For example, deforestation and forest destruction disproportionately affect poor women as they have even fewer opportunities to earn income than men, and forest loss means that they can no longer continue to collect food, firewood, and fodder for their household.
Both women and men play a critical role in climate change action, but women's voices are seldom heard and their adaptive strategies rarely taken into account in design of climate change planning and interventions. The same goes for women's participation in forest user associations. Rules of entry prevent women from participating formally in forest associations, and even when women are formally represented, their opinions are often less valued and their ability to influence decisions is less than men's.
Due to gender-based divisions of work, women and men often have different knowledge and preferences for trees and forests. When women's voices are not heard in the design of forest-related initiatives, their knowledge, interests, and priorities are not taken into consideration.
This can not only increase existing gender inequalities, but also decrease women's incentives to contribute to forest and agroforestry management. Enhancing women's participation in forest and tree management can support women's empowerment and also improve the condition of forests and trees.
Therefore, the forestry and agroforestry sector has much to contribute to addressing inequalities between women and men, and empowering disadvantaged women and men in ways that contribute to sustainable rural landscapes.
The CGIAR research program on forest, trees, and agroforestry is tackling this challenge head-on. Our research is aimed at understanding how a wide range of changes in forest and tree-based landscapes, such as growth of markets, climate change, migration and mobility, expansion of agriculture, and a wide range of interventions in the name of conservation and development, are affecting women and men.
We identify how different, improved alternatives for landscapes and people can be realized by promoting gender equality and empowering women. We are partnering with a wide range of organizations at the local, national, and global levels to undertake research on pressing gender issues as they unfold, and ensuring that our research findings serve to safeguard women's rights, combat gender injustice, and equitably expand opportunities for both men and women in rural landscapes.
We are aligning our activities with the Sustainable Development Goals, and we contribute to a global vision of gender equality and women's empowerment.
I told you it would be cooler than the science, right? So that's interesting. I mean, we've been talking a bit too much. We'd like you to ask some questions, make some comments, help us to think through this a bit better in different ways. So the floor is yours. If you have any comments, any questions, please just introduce yourself and you can get on with the business. Any thoughts? Any comments? Any questions? You can ask our panelists. Yes, Asifa. Okay.
Yeah, thank you. It's a very inspiring thing, and we're sure it will be very helpful. But just one quick question. Does it have a feedback mechanism where we, as a user, can give a feedback on a news article or on a publication, or just ask a literal question that we might have? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Marmore. I just have a question about, because you mentioned that it's all open data and open access to papers, but we know that many peer review papers are not open access, especially the newest ones that come from journals that are very highly prestige. So how do you manage that? How do you manage to have also relevant, very new publications if they're not open data?
So we've got 3 questions. We go to the panel. Can you respond? Then you want to start?
No. Yes. No, thanks for the... I'll take the first question, which is a very good one. We see communication and putting the tools for using the knowledge we do as not necessarily as one additional cost, but as a necessary investment. If we don't do that, and in fact we have looked at our past practice and we said, and we have identified that in fact it was not done as effectively as we could, and therefore there was just the possibility that the knowledge generated was just in vain or just put on electronic shelves and then we just moving from a project to another project. So this is really a kind of a change of mindset in terms of us, scientists, researchers, trying with our comms people, trying to find out a way so that this information can be used through time. Now, at the moment where we need time series and we need very long-term building on evidence here since 2011 in the case of this website. And it's not necessarily a lot of additional additional money. It's like rather a few percent in terms of total cost. I may just answer the last question on open data and open access. There is a requirement, because we are part of the CGIAR, that all our research produced is open access and open data. It's the case for our data set, as long as they have run through the quality checks and as that Michael has described to you. And we are able to direct some resources. Either we are negotiating with the journals, or in some cases, yes, we are investing and covering some of the fees that enable the articles to be open access. It means that 70% of our articles that are in Elsevier, in Nature, or in Science, you click on it, everybody has open access. It's provided and it's paid for by the program for everybody to use. For those publications, all of these publications, the 5,000, are publications generated by the program. So they are not like third-party publications. Everything that is generated by the program and partners.
Michael wants to go, and then Daniel.
Okay. So just with regards to interacting with users, there's not really a function right now for a user interface, but looking ahead to the next kind of iteration, we've just completed this, and looking ahead to the next iteration, we would introduce elements where you could comment on publications or review publications, or even offer your own relevant research. So that is kind of looking ahead. Of course, right now we do have all of our social channels, which are, obviously geared towards engagement.
Thanks, Michael. Daniel, please.
Yeah, on the issue of reusability, I agree with colleagues sitting in the middle there. It's been so much invested on that work, and so much also big resources available for public, and it's too bad if it is not accessible. So we try to be very, very realistic about that. For example, if some of you hold this publication with this accordion type of things, you can only see the title and abstract perhaps, or if we manage to produce the hard copy, that's quite expensive. So this open access that Vincent mentioned is really very useful. Even if we do not have open access for a particular publication, usually visitor or reader can come back to us to get the copy of that. But most of these are open access, so that they can be downloadable. So on the issue of interactiveness of the data, a special situation here in one of the products that we have is the map. The global wetland map is also in that system. You can download that, and if you want to use that and verify what is available, for example, you can put a polygon on where you are working and see what kind of peatland or wetland you have there, and how deep is the peat, how much carbon is stored, and you want to verify that with your own field ground truthing data. You can do that, and you can report to us interactively that something's gone wrong with this place, the coordinate is blah, 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 and then we will respond it on that. Thanks.
Any thoughts, questions? Yes, Michael, first, and then please, and then, so Michael, can you start, please?
Michael Brady from C4 and FTA. This is not a planted question. I guess like every system, we see some stop, discontinue. People become dependent on it. maybe for Vincent, what does the future look like of the program and the tool that we're providing? I'm curious how you see things down the road, and will it continue? Will this be a long-term, will there be long-term availability for users? Thanks.
Thanks. This is something I've encountered in my work, where I've had journalists from African and Latin American countries who've asked me for resources and gone to Eureka Alert and Alpha Galileo looking for press releases and studies and haven't found them in languages that they could read, even though the studies were done about their countries. And I'm wondering if there's any thought to solving that issue, because several of them have they're not happy.
Levania from C4. This is just a clarification. Where can I find tools that developed by other centers under collaboration with FTA in this website or in this platform? Thank you.
I can say reply to Michael's question in saying that we've designed these tools, of course, for the users, but also for our core partners. Because FTA is a partnership, so basically C4, eCraft, Biodiversity, CIRAD, Cartier, Tropenbos, and INBAR can now use this tool, and we really much hope that this is in fact the perennity of this tool. Some of the functions we've developed are innovative, so for example, if you go to C4 or eCraft's website, they're not there yet. But so the next step is that our partners we will make these innovations available for the partners to put them on their own website, because it's a partnership and it's kind of a free good. So that's the first question. Regarding the question on language, it's very important. There is quite a lot of research that is done in the local and published in the local language, especially when we look at Cartier in Latin America, when we look at French in Africa, but not only. There are also the local languages in the Bahasa, of course. All of this is there. The translation is costly, and this is something we need to recognize. I mean, it's a well-known issue also in the international organizations. We are thinking about some of the high-level publications to translate them into at least two other languages than English, but it's a challenge.
And maybe just to add to that, you may also search by language. So we have a language filter.
Yes. Which tools was it?
Tools developed by partners.
We can, so within the publications, you can search, and you can search by tools. So that's I mean, that search function that we went through several times is very comprehensive. And
our question was specific about whether, yes,
yeah.
Yeah.
So if I may, one of the added value that I think the partners would be, because all of the partners of FT are working on the same issues. So this site enables a user to access 7 institutions at once in terms of is there a tool on these specific questions? For example, what tree to plant where in response to climate shifts, etc. There's been work by CIRAD, there's been work by Cartier, by eCraft. So all of this, and then the tools are then the website redirects to wherever the tool is available and downloadable and contacts, etc., generally hosted in the second partner's website. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We have time maybe for one more comment.
Yeah? I'm just wondering, given the topic of this GLF and the question about journalists, have you thought about the relations between information and rights, and in particular with the prior and informed consent, how you do that? Is there a right to information and to accurate information?
Yeah, thank you. Very quickly, Michael.
Yeah, I mean, that is a great question, and it's obviously they are intimately related. Access to information and rights are absolutely critical. So the entire program, in fact, is committed and is supported very much to share information for informed decision making. So maybe, I don't know if Vincent would perhaps like to add to that.
Yeah, just very shortly before we cut up, it's a very important question. It's not about the right to information, but it is right about trusted, verifiable source of information and of knowledge that has been generated also in the proper, legitimate ways, taking into account the values of people involved in research. So this is a very good idea. Maybe at some of the next GLF, we could think about having a discussion about the right to information, yeah.
Oh, thank distinguished guests. Thank you very much. I'm really sorry we have to cut it off now because I'm sure the room is needed, yeah. Thank you so very much for coming. Can we give our panelists a big hand, please, for all the good work?